Hello, greetings everybody.
Wait, can you just start over? Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me move back a little bit. Cause it zoomed in on you.
Hi. I'm burning some Palo Santo. It makes there's sage and there's Palo Santo. Palo Santo comes from the little some type of trees, and it makes the air happy, so it brings happy vibes into the air. So I usually sage the air first, which actually I saged the entire home yesterday, and then just making the air a little happier. So today's video is going to be about nursing. I'm going to talk about how I got into nursing, and then at the very end I'm going to tell you what it's like being a home health nurse, because that's what I'm doing right now. So how I first started nursing, let's go way back 20 some years ago. When I was younger, I actually used to want to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a surgeon because I thought that was the best way to save a life. Like, when you perform surgery on someone, you're performing surgery to get a bullet out, you're performing surgery to close an open gash wound, you're performing, so I thought that surgery was going to be how I was going to be able to save the most human lives. But then I learned real quick, probably like around 6, 7, or 8, that when I figured out how long somebody had to go to school to be a surgeon, I was like, yeah, no, I'll never have time for a family, because I used to think that my biggest dream in life too was to be a mother. I felt like I was put on this place to be a mother. So when I found out I wasn't gonna barely have any time for a family, I was like, okay, no, we're gonna have to redirect. And so I chose nursing. When I was in high school, I began taking nursing-based classes. I took anatomy in high school, which was an elective, I think, or maybe everybody had to take anatomy. Whatever I was taking in high school, that was going to help me for nursing school, I was taking. And also, then once I was out of high school, which do dual credit. Don't focus on, it's great if you can be in those classes that are, what do they call those classes? So then they have the AP classes where it's like the advancement or whatever, like above the regular classes, which I did one of those too, even though I ended up getting out of that real quick. But they have those kind of classes, and then they have the dual credit. If you can do dual credit, do it. It'll make your college experience go faster, especially if you're paying out of pocket for school. So dual credit, you usually can do it through like a community college or something like that. It'll be a lot cheaper. So yeah, if you know what you want to do already in high school, or you think you know what you want to do, I would try dual credit. But I didn't though in high school, because I didn't really know. But after high school, I ended up going to a junior college, and that was like a 2-year school. So during those 2-year schools, you can get a degree in 2 years too. So I actually got my associate's degree in science, I want to say, like health science or something like that. Once again, I was still taking nursing-based classes, because technically nursing school, where you're actually doing solely nursing things, it's only 2 years. And all programs require you just to take the requirements before. So maybe you have to take anatomy, microbiology, there's like health and physical. There's just a bunch. Whatever college you're trying to go to, whatever college you might think you go to, usually they have the same. Every college usually has kind of like the same requirements of what you're supposed to take before you get into. Chemistry is one of them. So yeah, there's just a bunch of classes you have to take before you can actually get into the nursing program. And the nursing program I took, decided to choose, was University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. UAPB, I represent. So I went to UAPB. Once again, it's a HBCU. It's a Division I university, and it's in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And so yeah, so I went to that university, and that's where I got my degree at. Now, how I Yeah, so to get into the nursing program then, right? So after I passed all my credits, I was scrambling, like taking classes in the summer. I was taking a whole bunch of classes so that I could hurry up and get into the nursing program. Once I got into the nursing program, you have to take an entrance exam, most likely. And so I took an entrance exam, and I actually scored top 10, in the top 10% of my entrance exam. And so, boom, I was in nursing school. Once nursing school started, you have to be ready. You have to be ready to dedicate your life for 2 years. That's not missing classes. That's going to all the clinicals that it requires and stuff like that. And I was a student athlete when I was doing it, so sometimes I had to sacrifice. It was like sometimes I had to miss going on a trip for basketball because I really needed to get the education I was getting, or I really needed to get my clinical hours, or I really needed to prepare for an exam. And the class that I was going through, there was like an exam in different classes, maybe like once a week. And I think the first class you're going to take is Fundamentals of Nursing. Fundamentals of Nursing in my group dropped out. I kid you not. Half of our class wiped out just with Fundamentals of Nursing. Fundamentals of Nursing is basically, it's like the foundation of everything. It's almost like you get all of the classes put into one. So you got like your health assessment, you got like your OB, which is dealing with women and women in labor, pregnant women. You also have like, you get hit a little bit with the child age, you get hit with the geriatrics. They throw you everything at once. They basically are like giving you like an intro to a little bit of each category to see if you can do generally well. And if you can't pass Fundamentals of Nursing, it's kind of like, well, you can't move on because that's just the way that it is. So, and also, you have to make above a 76 to pass too. So the passing is not just, you can't pass the D and it be okay. You can't pass the lower end of a C and it be okay. You have to have at least above a 76. And some programs are even higher. Some programs you have to, I think, maybe even have 78. Some might be a little lower. Maybe they're 75, 74. So just kind of research that too to know what kind of program you're getting into. The tests are kind of difficult and challenging because it's so much different than all of the tests you took, right? You just took algebra, you just took chemistry, you just took all these questions where, okay, you study the information. As long as you know the information, you're going to get it right. Nursing school is not like that at all. You could study and know the information and know, like, yeah, if a person's bleeding out, the first thing I'm going to do is blah, blah, blah. I need these vital signs. I need da-da-da-da. You could know the whole situation, but in nursing school, it's all about how you answer the question. When you start nursing school, wipe away what you learned before, the methods of how you learned before, and get ready to learn in a new type of way. You don't want to waste hours studying textbook material that you don't need to study. So just that would be very mindful of that. It's a completely different way of taking a test. And I thought I was a good test taker, but nursing school taught me that I wasn't good at those kind of tests. But so you take your fundamentals and you take a few other classes. A lot of the classes could be, some of the classes are 1 hour length, some are 3 hours. Some you have to come back and do 2 classes that day, right? So say I did, what was our first class that we had a clinical in? I can't even barely remember my class name. Was
it your last semester?
No, we have clinicals. I think clinicals start in the second semester. Dang, that's crazy. I don't remember that much. But, well, I mean, it's not necessarily just about nursing school, but... Okay, but yeah, so say there's also accelerated nursing classes too, which I even thought about doing that. Some programs are even less than 2 years. There's like nursing programs you can take where you only go through a year and a half. So there's even those. So clinicals are all based on the nursing program that you go to, and they're going to have a specific hours that you need to complete during the nursing school. So you might, like for example, there was some times where we had to get up in school now. You're in school. So we had to get up and go and be at a clinical at 6, 7, or 8 in the morning. Go do a half day there at the hospital, learn the routes of the hospital, learn the ins and outs of how the nurses get around. And then you might have class later that day if clinicals are early. So it's kind of like they throw you in there, right? You get thrown in there. Nursing school takes up a lot of your time. You have thick textbooks. You'll probably be using ATI. So that's the other thing about nursing school. So you learn what the school teaches you, right? So you get their textbooks. Each class gets their own textbooks. But then you're hit with something called ATI. ATI, I'm going to show you because I still have some of the ATI books. And I gave my thickest one, which was my med-surg book. I guess here's some of the classes. Okay, you'll take maternity and newborn, which that's kind of self-explanatory. Maternity and newborn is learning about women while they're pregnant and newborns. You'll take community health nursing. So that is about maybe you'll learn about serving and learning your community and how to best serve your community because every community is different. Maybe you'll learn about language barriers. You'll learn about cultures and just knowing a lot of your general population. You'll learn that that's a different side of nursing that we often don't talk about. And as you can see, it is the thinnest book, but it does happen in real life. So you definitely use those skills. You also learn about nutrition, which unfortunately is also one of the thinner textbooks, but I wish that was a little more focused on. You learn about mental health nursing as well, because you got your psychiatric nursing, which those clinicals were actually my favorite during those clinicals. We actually went to some of the psych wards and some of the psychiatric hospitals where people they say that they're crazy. That's what their typical stereotype is. So yeah, we spent some time in there. That was very interesting. There's also pharmacology, which is literally the most hated class because in pharmacology, you're learning drugs upon drugs upon drugs upon drugs. You have to learn in a very short period of time. You have to learn about, if you've never dealt with drugs, and me, I never heard of a single name of drug. The only drug I knew growing up really was ibuprofen and maybe aspirin. That was about it, and maybe something if we had some stronger cramps, but in my household, we never did the pharmaceuticals. So it was like that for me, it was like learning a completely new language. So you had to know, not only did you have to know about the language of it, you had to learn about what the drug was, the name of the drug, the generic name, because there's two different kind of names for the drug. So you learn about the trade name, the company trade name, the generic name. You have to learn about their side effects. You have to learn about when a person can and can't take it, how long they have to take it. You have to learn about the half-life of the drug. So therefore, like if I take, there's on a acetaminophen, that's a generic name, acetaminophen. If I take one of those, they say maybe on the bottle it says can take every 8 hours for pain. So if you can take a medication every 8 hours, its half-life is probably going to be something like 4, which is like the peak of it. So you have to learn about half-lives and stuff like that because you don't want medication interactions. So there's just so many things. Then, after you learn about that specific medication, most people are on about anywhere from 1 medication to 20-something medications. So you have to then learn about how medications interact with each other. Can I take an ACE inhibitor at the same time that I'm taking a blood thinner? Can I take my heart medication at the same time I'm taking a medication to get rid of some edema? So it's a lot. A lot of heart medications actually are to get rid of edema and swelling because in the heart, when people have heart issues, they often get a lot of swelling. They build up in their hands, it builds up in their feet, it builds up in their legs. So a lot of those heart medicines have to do with swelling anyways. So pharmacology. Shout out to our professor that we had because she really blessed us during pharmacology. Yeah, I think she even knew that the way that we had to learn pharmacology was kind of crazy. We had our own separate dictionary. I think, hold on. We all had to get a drug handbook, which as you can see, and they update these drugs probably every year. There's always a new drug being put on the market. So you done learned one and it changes next week and you got to learn another one. So, I mean, just get through it. Just pass. That's all I can say because depending on what floor you're going to work in for nursing anyways, you're probably going to, like if you're at a hospital, you'll get used to kind of like say you're at a hospital for, you're on a cardiac floor. Well, you're probably going to get like the same 5 to 10 basic meds that most people are taking. I was on the ortho floor when I first got out. So I was very familiar with pain medicine. I was very familiar with blood thinners. I was very familiar with medications to prevent infections. So I kind of got a gist of those. So, I mean, you'll kind of get used to it. But for pharmacology, all I can say is just get through it. The goal is just to pass. Pass and make it to the NCLEX. That's all we kept telling each other during nursing school. We just got to pass. It didn't matter. At the start of it, I think some of us are extremely happy. Like, what grade did you get? It's so funny because in nursing school, you go from, what grade did you get? To, did you pass? Yeah, nursing school, it messes with your brain. But don't get discouraged, you know? Like, I was a 4.0 student in high school, and I didn't turn out to be a 4.0 student at the end of college. So just pass, get through. Right, so you get your ATI books to help. You also get every class is required to get a book. So you have your 2 sets of books. Then they recommend you get a 3rd book. The 3rd book is pretty much like the NCLEX. They want you to be studying NCLEX type questions throughout the entire nursing school, but I wish we would have just studied NCLEX because that's what the final total thing is. But I'm not a professor. I'm sure there was a way for all of it, or a reason for all of it. But I think just studying the NCLEX, it probably would have been the easiest thing in the end. But each professor kind of has their own way that they do their questions. So you gotta kind of learn your professor. You gotta study the material that they make you study, because even with ATI, so you have your regular class assignments, right? They say, okay, you make sure you read to these chapters, you get to that. Well, you finish your class assignments, but you also have ATI assignments too, because you take separate ATI tests and you take separate of the classroom. The way that I studied, I tried everything. I studied with flashcards for pharmacology. I tried reading. I would highlight the book. I would take detailed notes in class the best way that I could. And like I said, to the end, I would pull all-nighters. There was times when, me and my girls would stay up and the night before the test and only get about 2 hours of sleep, even if that, because we were trying to prepare for the exam the next day.
We're on to MRIs. If you don't get off your mother effing right,
you watch YouTube videos. You have to do everything that you can. It's just kind of about getting it in your head. Remember, you got to know which things are specific to learning, and you just study in every way possible. I can't say that there is a best way to study. Just figure out what way is not working for you and don't keep doing that. If you did flashcards this entire time, maybe you should try YouTube videos the next time if you didn't pass, or so just try to find studying a group was probably the thing that helped me best, because for me it got very discouraging to always go and be learning these things myself, doing it myself. So I often found the people who kind of stayed together in their groups and the people who formed their groups, most of the time they succeeded. So try to find a couple people that you can study with when it gets hard studying on your own. There were certain things I like to do by myself without them, but find some people to get close to. You guys help each other get through, because nursing school is no joke. I don't think nursing school is easy anywhere that you go. So it's nice to have a support system. Some of the fun things that we got to do that was really cool. You get a ceremony. So you do your white coat ceremony when you make it to a certain part in nursing, which gives you a little motivation, a little hope there. So that was cool. Another thing that was fun in nursing school for me was clinicals. I kind of did enjoy the clinicals there, because you actually do, you see a lot of real life stuff before you get into your field. So clinicals wasn't so bad, and it helps you get used to the cycle of the 12-hour shifts and stuff like that. I kind of like some of the projects that we did when Miss Bemis, who is one of everybody's favorite instructors at UAPB, she had a lot of interactive things in her class, and she had specific rules, like we had to interact and stuff like that. So those things were all cool. And health assessment, that was fun. It's like your basic, how you're going to inspect everybody. That's what they teach you, is exactly how to go. You have a focus assessment and you have your main assessment. So in health assessment, you kind of learn about how to go in there and how to look at a patient. You're taught to start assessing someone from the moment that you lay eyes on them, and even kind of before that, you start off getting their history a little bit. You know a little bit about the history and who you're about to see, and then once you go in there, you're studying them from not judging them, not forming a bias, but you are studying their mannerisms. You can tell immediately when you walk into a room, okay, does this person like close contact? Do they not? What's going to make them feel most comfortable about me? What are they coming in for? What are their issues? You do kind of like a general assessment. So it might be like looking into their ears, looking into their eyes, listening to their breath sounds, feeling both of their heart rates, just seeing if they match, those kind of things. Do they typically have sweaty skin? Do they have dry skin? What do their veins look like? So that's all, even before you even, touch a person, look at them and do any clothes taking off or anything like that. And then you do your focus assessment. So if they're coming in for stomach issues, then you'll want to do a deeper assessment on, you know, stuff like that. At the end of nursing school, after you pass all your classes, you graduate. But just because you graduated doesn't make you a nurse yet. So after you graduate, then you have to take another exam, which is your NCLEX exam. And everybody knows NCLEX. So a lot of people decide, some people want to take it right after they graduate. Some people want to wait a couple of months. I think I always try to go as fast as I can with things. I think I waited about, I wanted to first take my NCLEX right after I got out. But then I ended up going to the Philippines for like a month. And then I took it like about a month and some weeks after that. So I took my NCLEX. I waited maybe like a month or two before I took mine. Kind of took a break and the stress away from school. And I was worried I wasn't going to remember, but I passed. And I freaking had to take every single question on the NCLEX. There's like 200 and something questions, maybe like 260, something like that. Well, if you pass, if you understand, if you answer the questions right, they'll give you another question to see if you answer that one right. If you answer that one right, maybe they'll give you a third one that's similar. And if you answer that one right, good, okay, you know it, or okay, you don't. But say you like answer it right, and then the next one you didn't answer it right, and the next one you might have, and then you did again, but then you didn't on the third. That was me during my test. So I ended up taking every single question on the NCLEX. And you don't know what happens. If it shuts off on question 75, you're like, did I get that many wrong? Or did I get that many right? Or, you know, I took 260 of them. I didn't know if they made me do the whole entire thing. And I got them all wrong. Like, but I ended up passing. So after that, you're officially a licensed registered nurse. So congratulations if you have made it that far. It's a journey. And yeah, so after that, you find a place where you want to work. I chose a hospital for 8 months. I worked on an ortho floor, helped people out of surgery, took a couple other jobs, and now I'm currently here as a home health nurse. So if you want to learn more about what it's like being a home health nurse or what my job was like as a home health nurse, stay tuned for my next video.